triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Welcome, everyone. This is Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio. Oh, my goodness. We've got a day for you. We got so much planned as we sit here talking about this. Wow. You want to talk about holy moly guacamole. You want to talk about just the reality of evil in this world, evil in this country. And honestly, I am sometimes at a loss for words as I try to make sense of what's taking place and why are we so silent to many of the evils overcoming us right now. Your host, Watson Prunier, on Battle for Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio. You know what? Let's start this off with some American Pride Roasters coffee, and then when we're done, I will tell you more. We're going to get into this whole idea of domestically approved violence. Domestically approved violence, and the death of reason. This is very, very interesting, and we're going to get into this. But before we talk more about this, let's talk about some American Pride Roasters coffee and go from there. That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 50 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo 50 Radio, and most important, Battle for Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters. Not only American Pride Roasters coffee, folks. I also want to go with, as I'm trying to wrap my head around the confusion on everything going on with domestic violence. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and let's look at New Life Holistic. Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need to detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle for Freedom has sent you. One more thing. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic. New Life Holistic, folks. I want to get into this, and I want to get into this now because of the fact that this is driving me up the wall, and I'm not going to lie to you. This is, okay. So domestic violence is something that's very close to me. I believe last year, or it might have been the year before, you guys had my wife was on this program as we sat here talking about domestic violence. I believe it was almost a year ago, if not 2 years ago. No, it was about a year ago. We had this discussion. We talked about domestic violence. Honestly, when you see this shirt, it's purple. It's called Tanya's Tigers. This month is called Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This month is about the whole idea of talking about how people are victims to other people in this country right now because of the fact that they don't know how to keep their hands to themselves. This month is dedicated. You know what? When we have this idea of talking about, protecting women, the Me Too movement, and so much more, we sit here and we celebrate protecting women. But for somehow, some way, we have now all of a sudden changed that narrative because of the color of the skin of the individual. Understand, when you look at this picture to the left is a nice picture of how bad it gets for current victims and former victims. Domestic violence isn't a joke. But for some strange reason, we have now made concessions for the abuse on the left is now permissible because of the fact that we actually cannot allow there to be a response. Because no one wants to think about the idea, if a man or a woman is violent enough to go this far and actually beat a woman and leave bruises. And honestly, again, this makeup artist, this could be a real picture or could just be the work of a makeup artist. But the fact when we get every time police officers coming out to deal with a person who is a domestic violence, I'm trying not to freak out. I'm trying not to get angry. I'm trying to remain calm here because the fact that there's a level of compliance that's taking place here right now. And we're ignoring the real monsters. We're ignoring the real monsters, and there's a death of reason in this whole process. I'm going to share with one of my friends who shared this morning here, and I love this. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. On the average, 3 women are killed daily by their intimate partners, approximately 1,095 per year. Yet we protest that the shooting in Philadelphia, a repeated abuser, and that towards this pregnant wife who immediately after had to have induced in labor. He tried to attack the officers with a knife who responded to the domestic violence call. Yeah, that isn't a sword that I am willing to fall on. And if you can, please just keep going on. Don't stop here. Stop defending wrong. I have to go back to my cover photo here because of the fact that you have on the very top the man who just lost his life. I believe this is in Philadelphia, the rioting that's going on right now. And on the very bottom, you have, Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake. Again, and we can go after history, after incident, after incident, after incident. Mike Brown. Now, he wasn't beating up a woman, but he just finished beating up a store clerk, and he just started beating up on a police officer. See, there is this unfortunate quarterbacking that goes on when we're not put in the shoes of the police officers when this stuff goes on. There is too much quarterbacking going on when we look at this. I'm going to continue going through some of the stuff that was just shared by Yug, and I really appreciate him sharing this because of the fact that we keep ignoring the evils that's taking place. According to the National Resource Center on Domestic Violence, intimate partner homicides make up approximately 10% of all U.S. murders, and of those, women comprise approximately 70% of those killed. In other words, 1 out of every 10 people murdered is by an intimate partner, and 7 of those 10 murdered people are women. Research tells us that women are far more likely to be killed by an intimate acquaintance or a spouse than a stranger. And on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. 20 people per minute. 20 people per minute. And you sit here, okay, so one of my friends, love her, she tries to do the best she can to wrap her head around all this stuff that's going on here. And she's thinking that, again, one good shot, again, when your adrenaline is going, and you're sitting here and you're looking at a person who has a knife that's in his hands, and people keep thinking that it is that quick that someone can neutralize a threat that goes after you. If that person's within, do you realize why the police officers back themselves up? Do you realize when you watch all these different videos, most of the times, and literally all of the times, the police aren't trying to come right directly to the person with the gun, with the knife. They're always trying to distance themselves with the person with the gun and the knife. And you know what? And there's another video. I want you to see if I can find this. There was a police officer, and there was a white man. It wasn't a black man. It was a white guy who basically, two officers were talking to him for more than 3 minutes. He had a knife and he was coming at them. They basically walked almost half a mile from where the incident took place. And the police officers were like, "Listen, man, put the knife down." They were literally pleading with him to put the knife down. Pleading with him to put the knife down for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Put the knife down. Until in the very end, the gentleman rushed the police officer. He closed the gap of 15 feet within 1 second. Within 1 second, he closed the gap with the police officer, and the police officer was stabbed, even though he had his gun in his hand, asking him to please stop. Asking him to please stop. But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about the real, everybody, let's get psychologists, let's get psychiatrists to come out here. Huh. Yeah. Because right now, because they're the psychologists, the psychiatrists, they're the ones who are always going to do things right, huh? Yeah, let's. I'm going to come back to this in a minute here because I'm getting a little bit too hot, but I'm gonna start looking at some true facts on this. And let's have a discussion here. All righty now. You want to talk about this? Okay. Let's talk about this. What do you do? What do you do when the psychologist, 55 years old, shoots dead her 7-year-old twins before turning the gun on herself in a murder-suicide amid a custody battle? The shootings unfolded Friday night in Sudden Valley, Washington. Deputies performed a welfare check at the family's home, discovered the bodies of 55-year-old Michelle Boudreaux Deegan and her daughters the following day. Police said Deegan had been embroiled in a custody dispute over the girls. Deegan, a psychotherapist. You know what? I look at this, a psychotherapist. Let's actually separate the freaking words. She's a psycho who was a therapist. A psychotherapist posted several articles about narcissistic parents on her Facebook page hours before the shootings. Hours before the shootings. Let's go back to another thing. Hours before the shootings. So this woman killed her children. The person who's supposed to be the expert in talking people down from violence. The expert killed her children. What do you do? What do you do when the people who are supposed to stop the scourge of violence are themselves activists of violence? What do you do when the people who are supposed to be the voice of reason do not use reason themselves? Y'all want to defund the police and get psychiatrists out there. If they can't talk, if a police officer, listen, you keep thinking that, we have all day to sit here and protect a life. to make sure that this person with the gun, with the knife, with whatever weapon it is, isn't going to sit here and hurt the individual. We know time and time again in St. Louis years ago, right in the height of the Me Too movement, that you had this organization that wanted to free victims, the abusers. This organization, this charity, freed this man from jail in St. Louis who basically had a restraining order out against him. But they felt it was wrong for him to be incarcerated. And what did he do? Then literally not even 4 hours after getting out of jail, he went back to the victim who had a restraining order against him, and he killed her. By the grace of God, my wife is alive, right? My wife is alive right now. At the time when she left her situation, that God blessedly carried her away and graciously carried away from her domestic violence situation of 6.5 years. They say that the average person at that time was about 7 to 8 times of tries before they left, but most of them died by 5. That most of them died by the 5th attempt to leave. We have cities burning and looting because of the fact that we keep defending the indefensible. Let me see. Let me go to one more thing that Yug had shared. It's the family's job and responsibility to get him help, right? That they shouldn't call the police. They should have called a psychiatrist. They should have called a psychologist rather than calling the police. Funny, the family knew that he had mental health issues. They should have called a mental health counselor instead of the police. I mean, isn't this what we're defunding the police for? Isn't this what we want more money into? But you know what? You see, okay. You understand, I want you to understand something clearly here. And it is nothing but the grace of God and the word of God that he imparts in me, and his spirit who touches me every day to keep me from being emotionally unstable, who keeps me from being schizophrenic, so who keeps me from being whether it is the medical challenges, the mental challenges of being bipolar and over anxious, or whatever other mental maladies that affects countless individuals, or even being depressive. It is the Spirit of God who actually helps me. I don't know why God would be so kind and so gracious to me. I have a family history of this stuff. And God has literally put a bubble around me all my life. I don't understand why, but he has protected my mind. God has protected my mind, and it blows me away. I try and make sense of this. I find myself crying at days. Why, God? Why are you protecting my mind? And one of my best friends said it best. One of my dearest friends said it best. Do you know the Lord Jesus Christ? I said, yeah. There you go. Do you know the Lord Jesus Christ? Do you have that peace that surpasses understanding? Because you know what? When you have religion, it's so easy to become depressed. It's so easy to be having all these other different things. You have to have a relationship. You have to be talking to Daddy, Abba, Father every day. You have to be basically burning and yearning for the Holy Spirit to come in and bring back to your remembrance what the Word of God has said, even when you have hopelessness, even when it's hopeless at the worst moment possible. When you feel neglected, when you feel rejected, when you feel abused. It's only the Spirit of God that carries you through these situations. But we want psychotherapy crap. We want bull. We want Bravo Sierra following the ways of man that has done nothing. It has done nothing. We're sitting here, we're leaning on these psychologists. We want the Dr. Phils, and we want all these people who keep prescribing medicines and medications that do absolutely nothing but put people in either a drunken stupor, or they even create them to be more violent. Antidepressive medication has been documented to actually make people more violent. To make them more violent. We don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about the physiological changes that are happening to people because of the chemicals that we're pouring into their bodies and actually altering the logic pathways and the levels of discernment that actually happens in every individual, because Romans chapter 2 verse 15 says, those who do not have the law, those who do not have the word of God, have still the law of conscience on their hearts. They know the difference between right and wrong, but they continue to do it. Every last one of these abusers have a pattern. They start off small with their criminal behavior, and it exacerbates, and it builds, and it continues to go. And I'm even going to go further because of the fact that there is this silence. They say silence is violence. Okay? They say silence is violence, but you sit here and you're silent against these abusers who are beating up the children, beating up the women, beating up the men in the community. But Donald Trump, being silent about him, it's violence. Being silent about the the police officers shooting and killing unarmed black men in the community. That's silent. That silence is violence. This Saturday on, I believe it's OAN Network is going to have an interview with Tara Reid. You remember the victim of Joe Biden? You remember his victim? But the media silenced her. The left silenced her. Just like they silenced Bill Clinton's accusers. The convenience of conviction by people who are woke it is an affront to anything that is sitting here that you call it justice, that you call the... Yes, Linda, I'm going to take a deep breath, because it is downright offensive that you would dare sit here and be silent against the violence perpetrated by people in the community that are killing innocent victims. And then when these monsters are taken out, you sit here and you cry for the very persecutors of your life. I think y'all need to go right back to, you need to go to Battle for Freedom, which is my website, Battle4Freedom.com. And I want you, you need to go there and you need to basically get some help. You need to get some help. Ooh, I gotta slow down because and I have to breathe because I want to scream right now. I'm trying to understand, how is it that we can make excuses for this evil? Hey, psychologist, let's call the psychologist. Yeah, let me stop killing let me stop killing my kids first, and then I'll come and make sure that this violent person with a knife is going to do this. He's going to actually stop doing what he's doing here. Has consistently been in the aspect of hurting other individuals. But you know what? I believe this is that one time that they're going to stop. I believe this is that one time that they're going to actually listen to reason. Because what we're going to do is we're going to drug them up, and then we're going to put them back out into society when they don't have any drugs left to sit there and turn around and keep them under their meds and keep them, because everybody wants social workers, everybody wants psychologists, everybody wants all these people out there, all these extra government jobs, all these. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, most of these people who are actually offering the counseling are worse off than the very violators and perpetrators of the violence. But they deluded themselves into believing I have the psychic capability, I have the mental wherewithal to guide other broken people apart from the Word of God and helping them understand that the main problem that most of these individuals that has happened from victim to perpetrator is they're not secure in their identity and who God created them to be. And the break is right on time because of the fact that I need to take a break and slow down, folks. I'm your host, Watson, pretty from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. I'll talk to you on the flip side. This election will be vital to the health and sustainability of our country. Our role from this day on could steer the election in either direction. Why? The way we treat one another. In John 13:35, Jesus says, "By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." We know that every election cycle brings out the worst in us. If there was ever a point for honesty, it is in how we act during election season. As much as we would want our candidate to win, attacking a person with contrary opinions only makes them determined to reject our point of view all the more. It may come off as ignorant from them, but we cannot claim innocence if we allow arrogance and disrespect to be the means in which we communicate with those who support the other party or other candidates. Our goal was and will never be to convert voters. Our role is to give them the information needed prior to them casting their vote. It is their choice and right of what they do with that information. Understand, more people are aware of the political corruption and hypocrisy than they wish or want to admit. So there's nothing for us to prove. Choose to be people who invoke change rather than people who irritate and strain. Dale Carnegie once wrote, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." In other words, give people the room to make their own mistakes. Without seeing that they were wrong, they would be blind to see what is right. Remember, every soldier present and gone have fought for the right of every American citizen to vote their own conscience. To insult and ridicule people for exercising their liberty to vote for their candidate is to also desecrate the efforts, memories, and sacrifices made by our heroes for said liberty. Please, show respect. Our nation depends on it. Welcome back, folks. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. As you can see, if you were in the first segment, you recognize that this is a very sensitive, very, very, very sensitive topic for me as I sit here trying to remain calm and keep my tray in the upright position. Because, baby, this show is getting on the road. For those of you who don't have it, if you have a phone out and you're looking at your computer, I'm going to give you the easiest way. You want to keep listening to my program, and you don't want to get away and you don't want to tune away. I'm going to actually show you my new business card, and you're going to take your phone up to the screen and you're going to take a picture of it. Once you do that, it should bring you right to my website. So right now, if you just scan that, QR code, that should take you right to my website, and it should make things easy that you can go there and learn everything you need to know about Battle for Freedom. And also there'll be links at the top. One of them will be very similar to this link this image up here where it says Mojo 50. You're going to go to mojo50.com and you're going to click various buttons. I want you to click schedule to see all the different hosts that are available on this network. I want you to click donate because of the fact that we appreciate every cent that you give. I want you to also click shop so that you can pick up some things while you're there. And also want you to click open mic to hear 4 different shows that are in a triad, in a gauntlet battle to see which one would win the gauntlet and become the next show on Mojo 50 Radio. So I need you to do me a favor. Go to mojo50.com. After, go on my website, that can guide you there. All the links are available there. Also, if you want to and you're still wanting to hear my things, you can also just click on your screen, click this QR code. This is the back of my business card that actually shows you if you want to hear my podcast. This will take you right to iHeartRadio. If you have the app on your phone, it will bring you directly to where you can hear my things. And hear more screaming, hear more. Hear more violence. Hear more violence. I like this one of these comments. This is one of the many I love. If many people chose to go to Facebook.com/Mojo50 Radio. Carrie Alexander Gamble basically said the following: "Put the knife down, honey." Yeah, that works. Not. It never worked. It never worked, and it never will. Again, see, it's easy. Oh, it is very easy. Oh, yes, I have this for you, because I worked on this last night, and I am going to. Where is, oh yeah, there it is. There it is. So I don't know how many of you are fans of Jean-Claude Watch Me Split Van Damme. And in the 90s and the 2000s, Jean-Claude Van Damme had a lot of great videos. He had a lot of great movies. And one of my favorite movies from Jean-Claude Van Damme is Bloodsport. And I'm going to show you a scene. This is Jean-Claude Van Damme breaking bricks. But then
Very good.
He said it's very good.
Brick, not hit back.
Very good, but brick don't hit back. You need to watch Bloodsport, because I love that scene. I love that scene because of the fact that what it's saying here is that, oh, it's really good that you know how to break bricks. It's very good how you can actually combat those things, but the brick doesn't hit you back. Because oftentimes when we go to a target range, and we can go through various scenarios and everything like that to shoot and try to remain calm, but most often there never is a chance for a person to sit there and carry a loaded firearm and basically practice shooting while someone's attacking them. There's probably dry ammo. There's probably blanks in the gun to make certain and to actually catch the person how many times they pull the trigger in an encounter. But if you are training with live ammo in your firearm, and someone is coming at you and you're learning how not to actually shoot the individual, but do the best that you can to talk them down from the violence. If this is your training, please let me know. I want to be part of it. I want to be part of the training that allows me to actually have a loaded firearm pointed, and it could be in any different direction. I want all kinds of people around. I want children. I want family. I want other police officers. I want the perpetrator of the crime. I want the victim not far away, because of the fact that I want to actually practice the idea of de-escalating a situation with a loaded firearm and a violent felon, a repeat violent felon approaching me. And approaching you. These are because of the fact that people need this level of training, because there are these assumptions that are made against police officers and how they should be handling situations, but they're not in the shoes of the officers to make these real world, real life decisions. Everybody's quarterbacking on the situation. But if your training does not entail that level of sophistication in your training, and if you have not passed that level of degree of training, that you have not accidentally shot yourself, you have not accidentally shot your trainer, you have not accidentally shot innocent bystanders in the process of carrying a firearm to defend yourself, because of the fact that, you know what, your kung fu may be strong. But even when you watch matches with even the best martial artists, they still resort back to a swing, a wild kick, or whatever it is. Because adrenaline flows, and there's nothing you can do at that last second. And most often, the police officer who hesitates is the police officer who dies. The American citizen who hesitates is the American citizen who dies. There's video footage. I'm going to find this, but it was a picture. It was a picture of a U.S. soldier fighting an ISIS fighter. Okay, and both of them were armed with firearms. And I believe that there was a count of somewhere between 9 and 13 times that shots were fired. Both men were fighting for several minutes after being shot. After being shot. But everyone's like, shoot him in the leg, shoot him in the arm, shoot him in the hands. Y'all watch too much TV. I almost cost myself $2,500. You watch too many movies, too many TVs on this idea of believing that, because if you shoot at a leg, if you shoot at an arm, if you shoot at a hand, if you shoot at a head, you are reckless. I don't care how good you think you can be in placing a bullet. But if you can't do that under major duress, then you have no legitimate reason to say that a police officer should do the same. I'm tired of this. And look, the people who are supposed to be the counselors are killing their children. The counselors are killing their children and killing themselves. With what? A gun! Irony of ironies. They're killing themselves. They're killing their victims with a gun. How do you answer this? How do you deal with... See, the thing about it is that most often, the violent people, sorry that they're violent, I'm sorry that they are this particular way, many of them can be helped. But you know what? But we don't have a proper system. See, everybody wants better psychiatric care for a lot of the violent villains and victim people that we have in this country and even around the world. But I'm letting you know, we do not have an adequate system. And I think it is the highest level of hubris to believe that we're going to constantly just keep dumping people into a hospital and we're going to fix their problems with just more chemicals and more talking. No, I don't want people just automatically killed. It's sad that people have to lose their lives. But we have more victims. We have more victims in this world because of the fact that people choose to turn a blind eye to the violence perpetrated by their own people in their community. The people turn a blind eye and they get this irresistible indignation, an indefensible indignation against monsters who have terrorized their community. Drug dealers, pimps, rapists, molesters. Yeah, Uncle Ray Ray was sitting there raping your children for so long, but you didn't want to say anything because he just needs some psychological help. We don't want to call the police because Uncle Ray Ray, we've had to talk with Uncle Ray Ray that the police may shoot him because of the color of his skin. But we're going to keep letting him hurt those little girls and those little boys because of the fact that we want to protect him in our community and make sure, because he's a bright example of hope and recovering in our community. You let these monsters walk around, or you let these monsters walk in your communities, and you do nothing. Just like Joe Biden and every Democrat who has voted for Joe Biden. Shame on you. And I will shame you now, because that is elder abuse that's going on right now with Joe Biden. That is elder abuse that is going on with Joe Biden right now, to put him out there and use him as this pawn toward your plans of trying to ruin this country. And get this, these are the very people who enable the likes of these violent villains to continue to walk the street. And you want to put these people in charge? Hey, by all means, that's your vote. That's your vote. You understand this, honey, and understand this, brother. You keep voting for the very people that are enabling the violent offenders to be back on the road and kill your own folk. You put out a restraining order and they keep coming after you. We keep putting out restraining orders and it's nothing but a piece of paper. But you know what the real threats to this country are? It's Donald J. Trump, because of the fact that the systemic racism that he's empowering on here. The systemic racism, and we have to worry about this, and the sexism, and he grabbed the woman by the hoo-hoo, and all these other different things that we have to worry about. But no. We don't have to worry about Pookie, Schmookie, Tyrone, and Ray Ray sitting there beating the nonsense out of their baby mom, one of the 17 baby mamas that they have. Oh, we don't have to worry about that. Jacob Blake, what was it, like 6 different children he had? And just beating up on another one of the women. But hey, no, we don't do anything there because of the fact that the police should have had a better level of character in the way that they dispensed their means of de-escalating the situation here. But street violence would have said, put a cap in him. Street violence would have said, snitchers, what was it? Wait, what was it? Snitches get stitches, or however it goes. Oh, Lord Jesus, please help us. Hey, here's another one. I thought this was really interesting. Gotta love this. Gotta love this. In terms of when we sit here and we choose to be silent against the violence, when silence is violence. I love this one here because if you want to encapsulate the ignorance at the farthest, highest level possible, it's with this. Check this out.
Tacto. No es que tú tomes, mira, no es que tomes. Tacto, ¿viste cómo se metió? ¿Se te metió? Sí, es verdad. Lo bajé 60. No es que tú tomes, papi, mira. Tú puedes tomar. Si tú no puedes, vete y paquete.
Así es, así es. Ya yo me dije, no tomo más manejando.
No, yo puedo manejar. Yo manejo mejor.
Me he salido de los concursos 2 veces por la madrugada y tú sabes ni cómo llego a la casa.
¿Qué, macho? Yo manejo mejor tomado, así, mira, con la botella en la mano.
Sí, mi amor.
¿Verdad?
Wow, que se sienta.
Coge aquí la 529 de la
Pero
salida.
este no se siente, mi amor, este no se siente.
Sí.
Mi amor.
So let me help you understand the context of all that. You don't need a translator on this to understand that this gentleman decided, he says, I drive better when I drink. Driver swigs beer and brags on Facebook Live moments before smashing into a pickup truck and killing 3 people, including his girlfriend. Camilo Morejan, 47, was caught on camera drinking from a beer bottle, in a video that was posted to Facebook Live on Sunday morning. 6 minutes after the video was posted, his car was involved in a deadly crash. The silver Honda collided with a black pickup truck at the speed, killing 3 passengers. The drivers of the pickup truck is said to have sustained more serious injuries. Morejan has been charged with 3 counts of intoxication, manslaughter, and 1 count of intoxication assault. See, where was the counselor? Where was the counselor? You were sitting in a car with a person violating and breaking the law. You're sitting in this car knowing that this person should not be drinking while driving. You are sitting in your home watching these people beat your mama, beat your children, beat your daddy. And you are doing nothing. You are doing nothing. You are remaining silent. The silence is violence. You are aware of their behavior, but you continue to remain silent on here. You actively sit there and continue watching. So you know what? Let me equate that video I just showed to you with the reality of what happens. You remember when I said to you that most often it takes 7 to 8 attempts for a domestic violence victim to leave their abuser. Well, that situation that you saw in the car was the 5th time, or it was the 9th or 10th time that they got hit, they got beaten, they were bruised, black and blue. And this time is the one time when that gun is pulled out and they actually shoot and kill their victim. Because you remain silent when you should know better. There could be 3 people alive right now, but because of your silence, oh wait, no. Let me go back to this. Let me go back to Yug's thing here. On average, 3 women are killed daily by their intimate partners, approximately 1,095 per year. So in that car, I bet you, without the shadow of a doubt, that gentleman was a domestic abuser. He was an abuser. Because he didn't want to listen to reason. And neither did they. and neither do many people right now want to listen to reason. Oh, that's beautiful, Raquel. Delinquents gonna delinquent. Oh, that's good. That is a shirt. That is a shirt. That is a hat. That is a banner. Delinquents gonna delinquent. Carrie Alexander says, gangster violence is on the rise in Orlando. They are all kids under 30 that belong, and their mothers think that they are good boys and no one snitches. The law would not have to deal with my son. I would beat his bleep first and then turn him in. Oh, I love this. I love this. You know, the sad part about it is most people know these abusers and manipulators that are in these relationships that have been molesting these children for so long, who also then become the people who silence the children, silence their victims with violence. You know that everybody sits here and keeps thinking, oh, well, just let him steal. It's just petty crime. It's just petty. It is proven, documented information that the people who are not violently, and it doesn't have to be death, who are not violently confronted with their criminal behavior early in life, they basically expand and they grow and they mature in their depravity. They basically rise in the occasion for their criminal activity because of the fact that it's no longer exciting to do what excited them on the small scales of their petty crimes. And they evolve. And they escalate in their need, in their desire to break the law, bend the will of men to theirs because of the fact that they just love the power. They love the chaos. They love the destruction. I'm going to tell you something right now, and I'm going to be clear with you, and you need to hear this. The silence against domestic violence, the silence, and actually, it is nothing but demonic. And that's the reason why the black community is suffering so much, is because you're too busy humping and allowing these rapists and these murderers and these abusers to keep existing in your community without any level of chastisement or any level of admonition. You too busy letting these baby daddies beat the nonsense out of you and beat you into submission. And that's exactly the reason why the Democrat Party has its thumb over you and can control you and allow you to live in squalor, live in the hood, live in the projects, and never get out because of the fact that you have already been mentally beaten down. You have mentally, physically, spiritually, everything been beaten down because you too busy holding on to your black skin as your hope and your salvation. Yeah, black power. Yeah, black power with that fist that keeps punching you and beating you into submission. And there ain't no Jesus, no matter how many statues, no matter how many pictures, no matter how many figurines, no matter how many crosses you wear around your neck when you doing your rap songs and you kicking out gangster style and you shooting them, pop, 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 clackety, clackety, clack, and all that stuff. You sitting there calling your women bees and hoes, and you expect that they're not going to beat the nonsense out of you? This is your culture. You want to celebrate the culture that beats you up and have the nerve about when cops actually to have to confront you in your violent mentality. Huh. Ooh. And complain about all the violence in their community. Chicago, Indianapolis, New York, Memphis, LA, Detroit, New Orleans. How many more cities do you have to see the violence and the silence that goes on? Oh, let's get more community organizers. Right now, you think those not even community organizers, you think those counselors are going to go and sit in there and talk to these guys who are sitting there carrying so much brass and so much iron, strapped to their sides with their pants sagging down. They could sit there and look and see how many different things in there. You remember that guy, Drazon Reed, who got shot at 62nd and Michigan Road because he was fleeing from the police and bragging on Facebook about doing this? That Negro sitting there driving around, and is sitting there in a party with alcohol, under the influence of alcohol, playing with his gun with the extended magazine, with a 30-round magazine. The guy who was shooting aimlessly in the community. But we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about, oh, it was a police officer who took his life. And it was just straight corruption. But we don't want to talk about the fact that this Negro, this bum, was sitting there shooting in a community, at businesses and homes. You are protecting, you are defending the monsters. You are defending the little Hitlers in your community. It is the most sad and most pathetic thing I've seen in my life. And we armchair quarterback about the idea that the police should respond differently. What about you responding differently to those visible threats in your community before they become bigger and bigger threats? Oh, wait, no, you can't. Because you're afraid that they will kill you if you report them to the police. Hence, Satan has won. Hence, the Democrat Party has won. Because, 1930s was the major swing where the blacks community started voting Democrat. I believe it was I forgot which Democrat president was in control at that time, but there is documentation that the president at that time sent a pamphlet with a noose on it to the black community, and they said, if you don't want to see this anymore, vote Democrat. Yes. There's documented proof of the black community being sent threats from a Democrat president. If you don't want to see nooses, if you don't want to see lynchings anymore, vote Democrat. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Let's listen to the language of the left today. If you confirm Amy Coney Barrett, we will burn this city down. And let's listen to the left. Let's listen to the Democrat leaders in this country. If you turn around and you do this, if you pass this, if you take this away, we will sit here and burn this place down. Listen to the likes of a Maxine Waters, who basically tells her listeners, do not let any person in the Trump cabinet sit and be comfortable. You confront them. Even Barack Obama basically said, go out and you confront these individuals. When you look at the left, and they're not silent, they are silent against the violence that have been burning and destroying our communities, but they are encouraging, and they have the nerve to call Antifa an idea. Call Antifa an idea. See, when you sit here and they continue, and remember, because the violence in the black community, oh, that's just hood life. That's just hood reality. Oh, you programmed. You don't vote. Don't vote, please. Because what happens is you sit there and you keep pulling the lever, and you keep pulling the lever for people on the Democrat side. You only enable your subjugation. Folks, I'm not going to lie to you. This is ridiculous. And it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. I'm heartbroken because I'm trying to understand how is it that the people who are doing their best to protect our communities are the villains, but the very people who are tearing apart our communities are they're left alone. You got to go back to my broadcast, Stockholm Syndrome. When I sit here talking about Stockholm Syndrome, the mentality that many of you are survivors of domestic violence. Many of you were survivors in a community where that violence continued and was perpetuated. Many of you have been beaten into submission. You think you're strong, but you've been beaten into submission. I'm going to tell you, yesterday my attitude of gratitude was for my wife and just her strength and everything like that. My wife is a survivor of domestic violence. And a lot of people thought that my strong spirit, my strong personality was going to subjugate her and keep her down and keep her silent. Yeah. I took great offense to that. Because if you ask my wife right now, she'll tell you, I ask her, do you feel more free or do you feel restricted under me? And my wife will tell you, she feels more free because of the fact that my wife is making decisions for herself. My wife is seeing the bigger picture. And I'm praying that more of you can see the bigger picture. You don't have to continue being a victim of domestic violence or tyranny. Choose wisely. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom on Mojo 5 Radio. Brad Staggs and Daily Mojo's up next.